be a competitive game. Didn't expect to see the Brimstone, though, kicking off Pearl.
No, and I didn't expect to see the Haven pick coming out from FUT either. I definitely have to now agree with the desk and lean this series in towards T1's favor. But as we've learned in EMEA many a time, FUT are very good at sort of breaking those norms. In the early stages of the round, though, we're going to have to build up in towards that A site. Leading that charge, Carpe with the Tiger, and Sire's already in.
He's done well to find the first, but he's stuck inside those mollies and can't make his way out. A Nano Swarm kill onto Saya, and a blindsided swing. Captain only gets one for his trouble, but the numbers, they stay in their favor as FUT control the site. The spike on the floor as well, and Munchkin has no idea on that final player. He spotted him now, but not able to adjust in time. The first round is for FUT.
Close off the back of it, though. I did feel like Munchkin was going to have an opportunity to maybe clutch that one out. Now, I want to mention a little bit why that sort of Haven pick was a little bit of a off-the-board one for me. If you look at the last few times we've seen it actually chosen by the side of FUT, they've been smashed out of it. So I'm hoping they're going to have some adjustments on that pick. But looking at Pearl already, it does seem like they've gone from differences with their comp. Now, obviously, bringing in that Brimstone is going to be one of those things to sort of delay potentially when it comes up to that B side. But I want to see how that might affect them with their more burst attacks when it comes to their attack, because that's the thing. A lot of the time we talk about Brimstone comps is you don't have those regenerating smokes anymore. So when you go for a hit, you have to be pretty damn committed to it.
Yeah, it can definitely be problematic later on into the game. For now, the lean from Captains towards that A site. We've seen a lot of presence here from FUT in the pistol round. They had early rotations to this side of the map. And they're hoping that T1 will end up back towards A. Maybe a bit of a read into the tendencies, into the preferences of their opponent that so far seems to be paying dividends. With T1, sure, they're poking and prodding across the map, trying to find some presence. But they intend to finish things off on A. And already we've seen Munchkin dropped, trying to get a bit of info around that corner. They don't know how many players are up close waiting.
Yeah, I think one of the things we're going to have to try and sort of focus on throughout the map is where Krax is placing that knife, where he's finding that information, because a lot of the time you're going to lose control of certain spots. Of course, especially with that Killjoy, you can kind of lock down angles, as you can see on the map at the moment, with that mid control still being held onto, but they have given up a little bit of space. As you can see, though, from Moj, is definitely aware of it, and for T1 now, they're starting to run out of time.
We'd spoken many times about the discipline of FUT in the regular season over in EMEA, and we're seeing it here very much under control as they don't overextend and offer anything. 15 seconds on the clock as the push comes through. Snakebite's good, but they can't follow up on the damage. And now a chance for that spike to actually be planted for these players who've waited out for the past 2 minutes to finally force some fights, and they're favorable to begin. A post-plant setup as well with Viper utility to play off of. FUT will find this difficult. It starts by rooting out Saya player who's finding two. They're unable to do anything about this man, and now support comes in. The trade maybe not on time, but with 45 HP and 2 players left to take down, Krax is in a lot of trouble. He's trying to fight them, and he'll get both of those duels on an offer. On his plate, eaten up and 2-0, but hey, listen, that follow-up second round, not as clean as FUT would have liked.
No, not even close. If anything, T1 probably should have taken it. Like being left in what was a 1v3 scenario, Krax is able to pull one out of the bag, and again, that's one of the things we always talk about with FUT, is they have depth in these clutch players, but I still feel like it wouldn't be right to not highlight Saya player. Like, he is always going to be an issue for teams. It's somehow being in the late round, even when he's playing those openers a lot of the time. And now with the rifles in, just look at the purchase from FUT. It's just going to be the Bulldogs and a couple of players. And the rest can't really afford to buy much more down because of how much they lost in the last round.
Yeah, this squad really not able to fight anywhere near the level that it looked like they would be beginning this. I love the utility from T1. A much quicker take towards B this time, strangling all of the space out of their opponent's control. And they're going to flash through to make the big play. And even then, it's not catching anyone. They've been fully pushed back by the util and the plant acquired.
Needing the heals for a little bit of help, and actually it's going to be Krax to get rid of Ban. Spike not quite being planted. Zed's aggressive position, he's got to be careful. There are multiple players just around this corner. The flash connects, but he's not going to aggress off it just yet, and Mr. Farland is already going to put this into a further advantage. They need a bit of a hero, and the trades are fantastic. leaving Sire player once again alone, and he's going to get cleared out. FUT are going to make that work with 2 Bulldogs and 3 pistols, Mitch.
Well, that's kind of ridiculous. You know, the initial kill coming through from Cracks, fair enough. He's just firing through the smokes. He knows there's a spot they're likely to have some foot traffic around, and he can take them down. But the fact that they come through with next to nothing backing it up, it was what, 2 Bulldogs? And then you're down to
3 Sheriffs, that was it.
And they're able to come out winning every single duel, and in some instances, maybe it's overextension from T1, having Zeta up close and going out for the swing, but even still, that's ground that I think he's entitled to fight for. A ridiculous beginning to this, and T1, they're going to start sweating pretty soon. They can't allow FUT to just run away with this after a promising beginning.
Yeah.
They haven't got anything to work with in this round. It's going to be the same as before with B, just denying the info, taking the space.
So that's something I really wanted to look into with this team, is sort of why they struggled versus their opponents. And a lot of it came down to the opening duels versus the duelists on the other side. Kang and Ardis having a field day versus T1. Kiwi, well, he's going to kick things off once again. Sire player, though, he's there. And Ban's found one with a pistol. Every single round becoming competitive so far. Is this one going to settle on their side? And they almost managed to get rid of Mr. Fallen.
Yeah, that was the recovered rifle, and look at Saya. They got this orb to start the round out. Got the Blade Storm online, and that has been rewarded tenfold. Just Mr. Fallen, 56 HP. And although he finds the first, he is left on
He lost 55.
That's a tough situation. Headshot needed onto Ban at least. They've got the angles here, a bit more damage, but that's all that will be found. As finally, T1 are on the board. Not in the round I expected it either.
They didn't think we would give up.
No, again, there's a reason it's very easy to highlight Sire player. The Blade Storm just taking over this one, and again, even with the changes to this map, we're seeing them very heavily lean in towards this B side. I feel like that's where the true strength of this Harbor Viper is. We'll see if they're going to have some adaptations to throw things into A, but if you look at where they're initially setting up once again, well, it looks like Moj might be about to come under the same pressure again this round.
Not by the looks of it, yeah. And they're not changing it up as the barriers go up. Same approach, the same old wall on its way. Jet following up on it. Saya looks to claim some more scalps. Look at FUT's response, falling back and indeed conceding the entirety of this site. Players in the spawn, and that's about as close as they're going to be. The same attempt at spamming through, and it's done some good damage. Yeah, Ban is down pretty low, but they can be healed. And safe to plant inside of that cove. Viper's pit down for the post plant.
He's going to stay in it, I think.
Yeah.
Lockdown being utilized, but he doesn't want to give up that pit. KO ult's gone through on the other side as well, so it will be the detain for Zeta. But he's able to hold on for the moment. Even still, though, initial frag goes the way of Kiwis, doing one, but Carpe just gets 2 through the pit. A little bit more for him as well. One more standing, a potential ace. But he's just playing passive this time, not looking to get over-aggressive. You know he wants that final kill. We'll hear the tap onto the spike, but it's not quite there. And Moj is going to try and close it, but instead, it's Sire player. A huge round for Carpe, a highlight on the desk. And well, you've just witnessed the reason why.
Well, I think this is where FUT are going to start to get worried. That B site's being pressured again and again down B long. They're pushed out of B long. They're pushed out of B site. And on the way back through, the fights have not been pretty. And you got to give credit to Carpe, though. The fact that he's able to find that space, even checking on the spike, seeing that it's not being diffused, this round was entirely his. But on the back of Zeta, turning around and obviously tanking the lockdown, keeping the pit online and giving them that angle to fight from. They couldn't even punish him once he fell back into the corner. It's a really nice response from T1. And this time, a big difference from how this attacking side is approaching the early round. And in the same way, a big difference in FUT's approach. 4 players on B early. That has left them very light elsewhere on the map. And unfortunately, well, elsewhere is where T1 are bringing it.
Unless they're about to use an orbital strike to deny this, there's not really much they can put in the way. Now, to put things into perspective, FUT in the past, even before the changes, got the majority of their rounds on that defensive side. So the fact that this is already looking pretty good for T1, the map changes allow you to get more defender side rounds in general, with that side being easier to lock out with an afterplant already. It's a question of how much FUT actually want to throw into this one. Now, they do have a bit of reserve cash, and for the other side of things. It depends how many orbs you want to sort of hand over to T1, but that's a damn good start. Carpe gone.
Yeah, he tried to sneak past the smoke. A second player coming from this angle later. It's Munchkin, but he's going to be caught. Oh, but the shot doesn't hit. Mr. Fallen. Well, they've definitely stumbled on that play with Munchkin defending this tooth and nail. The lockdown will be destroyed. Just about, but look at the time that it's bought. That spike already diffused, ticking away quite far. It's half. They're going for it. They're trying to stick it all the way, but the spray from Ban saves the day.
Well, I was saying in the moment, is there going to be that use of the Orbiter Strike? And I'll be honest, I said it in jest. I didn't think there was any way they were going to throw that ult into the late stages of the round, but with the heroics of Mr. Fallen being able to do so much initially, and then the aggression to actually get rid of that lockdown, there was a real chance. Luckily, Ban was on the case once again. Definitely someone within this T1 roster that I feel like has been given an unfair amount of flack. His Jet's pretty good as well. Unfortunately, we're not going to be getting Fractured today. But for now, at least, we end up level. This is where the purchase comes back in, though, and that's where the Kiwi operator becomes a threat. That B site a little bit easier to hold down, but once again, we're now seeing T1 lean back in towards that A site. Real opportunities for a solid execute with all of the utility that they have, and Ban's util almost renowned for getting you into an afterplant.
Oh, much more shallow this time on the wall through, trying to link up with the ARC players and then push on the back of it. Saya player will only get the one, and Carpe actually caught on the way through. The molly slowing them down on this and putting T1 in a pretty tough position. You still have a Viper's Pit to fight back in on the side of FUT. They need to take some space of their own, and that's exactly what they're looking for. Out of Captain in the corner, and although he's moving fast, he's not quick enough on his feet, but look at the HP of Ban. So incredibly low with Mods just trying to find him. And he'll locate that final kill, even save the op through to the next round.
Yeah, it wasn't bad from T1 considering how the initial fights went. Like, you obviously had the Reckoning thrown in, and there was one position that wasn't clear, but Ban was very much aware of it. But again, it just comes down to a couple of shots landed by Kiwi on the way back through, and solid utility actually coming out from FUT to sort of deny that initial space. They know that the composition from T1 revolves around afterplant. So you're going to use that cove, you're going to use the high tide to get you into position, and then just play those post plants with snake bites and everything that comes with the Killjoy kit. But if you don't allow them to get into that spot, which is something that FUT normally pretty good at, it can become a little bit easier for them. And now again, like, this is how close these rounds have been. 3 rounds in a row for T1, they lose 1, and financially in the bin. But I see Sire on a hero rifle, Mitch, and you know, there's always hope.
Well, that's kind of what you're talking about. Immediately starting the round off with aggression, and T1 have not been afraid to have those quicker starts to the round and pump the brakes later on. Now, a rifle potentially to be retrieved for this squad if they were to double up and move through this area, but actually, they're going all the way back to their spawn, moving around to B long, and sending Saya player walking, well, by the looks of it, on a flank of his own.
He's going
He'll be seen, they'll check in on him a little bit later on. Kiwi, for now, has to move his way out of this B site. Concede control. That's been the name of the game for these B takes, but this time Kiwi has something to say about it.
Yeah, he's left a teammate behind as well. I don't think Cracks was expected. The flank from Sire will dome 1, but the trades are coming back thick and fast. Cracks has done an incredible job at the back of the site, and well, it comes down to Sire. He needs an ace to win this round. Doesn't actually know where his opponent is lurking. Cracks hiding on the backlines, has spotted the other 2, but I think his life is on borrowed time. No, it seems like he read it for a second, but Cracks has done the damage either way. A 4K for him, a little bit of a bait and switch in this round, and FUT are going to have their 5th on the defensive side. Now starting to build into it, as we sort of said.
You can see how scary this T1 squad is, though. I mean, if you imagine that was a full buy like we're seeing right here, not just the hero rifle for Saya, this guy managed to push straight up into door, grab an opening kill, and then had the flank as well.
The jet lurk.
It's literally just those players going on site don't have rifles. Cracks has a better chance in most of the fights that he enters and is able to connect them. But one hiccup there, one stumble, the site falls, rifles are retrieved, your flank is still an issue late into the round, and FUT may have just stumbled on what was a very low buy. I think T1 can feel pretty confident with how they've been playing so far. This round here, though, another test. And that operator on Kiwi It's caused a lot of trouble in the past. Pushing up on B, it won't be getting too much offered up just yet.
This as well is, again, we're starting to see that play throughout. This is where, once more, we've seen Mr. Farland put the majority of utility to try and hold on to some of that control. And it seems like, on the other side of things, the only goal, really, of Zeta is to play into that late lurk. The thing is, though, they're so confident in Kiwi's position. Almost caught floating through the air. And that's a big kill. Now things get a little bit panicky as the rest go pushing in towards that site. But Moj, as you said, has caught the spike.
Yeah, they went elsewhere. You know, that was just a flank on B. The lurk late into the round. Bands up close, and they haven't spotted him. Good repositioning. Spike retrieved, and as we said, you had that flanker, that lurker later into the round. Still, they're controlling the B site. Zeta's got it on lockdown. They can move that spike around. They're doing so a little bit slowly. It is allowing FUT to rotate into position, maybe be close by. And it's not like Zeta has anything to catch them off guard here. He's very much just holding this map control so they can get the plant in late round. It's a good pivot, a good recovery. Munchkin, oh, he was so patient, but he's been spotted on the way back out.
I'm looking at that null command as well. Now they've spotted that flanker. Can potentially remove the util. The rest of the players, they know there's one in towards that backside, which likely means there's either one out towards long or back in on that lurk.
That's a great kill. They're starting to narrow down the angles, but they didn't know that Munchkin was still there. The ammo, the real issue here for Zeta. As Ada captain, definitely a smile on his face now as they are pushing that lead even further up.
Yeah, that literally just came down to a few bullets. Munchkin did an incredible job to find a couple of kills, but again, FUT are the ones on top, 6-3. And I'm not really surprised to see T1 pull in a tactical timeout, especially when you look at what they have on the board. 4 ultimates available, the Viper's Pit very close to being online as well. Even though this might be a weaker purchase for them in terms of their finances, this is one they can easily get things over the line.
Yeah, it's a good time to grab a breather. As we said, some of that early round aggression has been incredibly promising. So for this T1 squad, putting together the final pieces of the puzzle with 3 rounds left to compete for in the half, and it's certainly not out of their hands just yet. And as you said, Tom, FUT known for putting up those rounds on the defensive side. So this first half really is just about getting enough rounds on the board that it's workable when they swap over, when that defensive side is mounted.
Yeah, I don't think it's impossible for them to turn the tide. I think for FUT, obviously, I think this composition kind of allows them to have a solid util for the retakes and a lot of delay potential, which can be quite hard to play up against. I am going to be intrigued to see how it works on the attack, because I feel like in classic FUT style, they're going to have to be very direct, because the brim doesn't really allow for much else. But there's still a few rounds to go in this half, and for T1, the thing that excites me most, I'm seeing a Blade Storm on Sire player, which we've already witnessed once, is enough to win a round.
Yeah, and money problems, right? So you know for sure it's unlikely he's going to come through here with a full investment of anything crazy. Instead, it's going to be that Blade Storm look to try and recover on it. And that was one of the ways they got around on the board. Just his straight up aggression down B long, being able to completely mince up that defense. They'll look to do it again. Success found earlier around double doors, looking for more. But Kiwi's here this time, locking it down, operator in hand. They're wise enough to send out a Tiger first. It will meet that op shot.
That's almost a direct reaction to what he did last time. Like, they've seen him just burst his way through mid, so they've decided, okay, let's just put our most fearsome warrior there to hold on to those positions. Again, we're seeing this sneak up, this almost lurk through as they attempt to pincer in, and they've now spotted Sire in mid.
Yeah, at least 2 players coming from mid, and well, there were 2 coming from B long, but they've spotted them and taken them down. Maj up close is defending. And there's, wow, even players being dropped through the smoke. This couldn't have went much worse for T1. All of their info was found in the early round. FUT knew exactly what was happening, and their response was perfect, seeing the majority of the forces coming through double doors, so they look for the fight on B long, and then they can pivot with ease.
So he's got to get past an alarm bot, a nanoswarm, a turret, and a second nanoswarm. And that's just to get to the site. Information to be had already, insta rotation back.
30 seconds left.
There's not really anywhere for him to go at this point. The main thing will just be, can he cause any extra damage? Can he maybe get a plant for the extra finances? It's really not a good scenario. And in terms of the money on the other side, a flawless round would be perfect for the side of FUT, but we'll see if they're going to get it. 10 seconds left. He has to just run in at this stage and hope that he can get absolutely anything, and it will be the Prime Gaming Flawless coming through for FUT.
Yeah, of course he knew Captain was there after the molly, so that's going to be the spot he's looking at. 7 rounds for FUT so far. It's been a very strong beginning to this map. Thing is, you know, sure, it's T1's map pick, but if they can at least push up to 5 by the end of this half, they've got the legs on them to stand tall as the series progresses, as the map progresses into half 2. Ultis are looking pretty good for the FUT side, though. Blade Storm, locked down. The Viper's Pit to work with, as well as Orbital Strike. I mean, they've got a bunch to fight for, and this is T1's buy round. Don't want to leave anything on the table.
I like this, though. T1 just going back to what was working. Faster pace hits, sending in Sire player as that initial fight, the Reckoning online. They've been farming up orbs throughout the game to get this all online just because of the space it builds up. They do have to be careful, though, because FUT have been very happy to just sit on the edge, spam through, and do so much damage, and it's worked out for them again. Carpe is going to be caught.
And the lockdown's traded out as well. That might force some of these players to take a step forward in some circumstances.
As well.
But they've decided to fall on back, concede that control.
I call this around the Observer's Nightmare.
Yeah.
It's just every single ult just being spammed into position.
Viper's Pit went down, but so did Mr. Fallen. They've got to get on this spike pretty soon to force players out into the open, and there they are. They've spotted the whole squad, but there's too many bodies to take down. T1 holding strong. They've still got that utility to play behind, but Maj has got the angle up top. The smokes holding off for just a few seconds longer. It could be long enough. Kiwi's close, and he'll get it across the line. Oh, a devastating round for T1. As the defuse right under their nose puts 8 rounds on the board for the side of FUT. Their defense looking undeniably strong.
I don't even know how many ults we saw in that round. I think it was all of them. Every single ult is now gone. Everybody invested absolutely everything. We saw Reckoning, Viper's Pit, lockdowns traded out. Both teams wanted this round more than absolutely anything, and FUT, they literally get it over the line off a defuse within a smoke. A Brimmy smoke at that, so I mean, you know, they last a while, but 8-3. I think many expected T1, especially on their map choice, to come out swinging, and they are getting decimated. What a shot by Kiwi to start. These rounds may have been close, but the scoreline definitely isn't.
He's been a menace with that operator early round, but hasn't needed to do a whole lot. It's players like Maj, like Captain, pulling it out later on. Krax, who's been an animal for spraying people down through smokes, well, he's finally gotten a little bit of karma coming his way. Flash ready. Carpe wants to punish. They know there's a player there, and they'll catch him through the wall. Great prediction from Carpe. And Kiwi not able to hit the shot with the op. Too many targets. All out in the open. He's got cover this time. A player up close, ready to help, and well, his help will certainly be needed. Mr. Fallen, is he going to swing out to realize these players have given up the control? Yes, they've moved towards the stairs where the spike is dropped. Maj has the cross, spotted both on the way around, and now they can just hold this together, or maybe not. They separated. Munchkin isolates. 40 HP and 4 bullets. The spike down towards the stairs. He has to move. And in fact, it's his opponent that's moving first. Maj repositioning, maybe knowing that the spike is there, that he can catch a timing.
It's just all about the bait. Maybe expecting to be surrounded. Now Munchkin's going to be the one to go that little bit further forward, hoping to find his opponent, but eventually he has to make his move, has to go for this plant, and he's not going to be expecting him to be in that same position, desperately trying to find out where Maj is coming from, but instead he's just wrapped back into exactly the same spot, and he will land the shot. The only thing stopping FUT from dominating in this map is the curse. And well, to be honest, Mitch, it depends how much you believe in it.
That is a masterclass from Maj as well, closing out that in positioning in the 1v1. Beautifully played, and now 9-3 at the half for the side of FUT. This couldn't have went much better. I mean, hell, even some of the rounds that T1 getting off the back of individual prowess, someone like Saya on the Blade Storm tearing it up. Kiwi, Saya head-to-head, not as impressive as you thought. Wow, see what the desk makes of this lead.
Thank you so much for that, fellas. And wow, FUT defying all expectations with a hot start on Pearl. But let's jump straight, though, to our Verizon high-speed moment, because you got to give it to Ada Captain. This guy has been absolutely amazing this game. And Baby Bay, I think that, you know, we were talking about it before, being that emotional leader. We're also seeing him frag.
I mean, yeah, imagine just peeking and one-tapping somebody. But it's not even just that. It's like, obviously getting a 3K as the emotional leader is great and all, but the utility to isolate the guy from backhaul and to be able to take this fight in general and just get the trade right here after, it's beautiful. Then he wins the 1v1, right? And who better than having it be your you know, spiritual leader in the game? Look at him, he's hyped. He's already hyped, going crazy on him. So
massive to have that guy online, getting the energy up for this team. But baby, we were both talking about how good T1's mid-rounding was in the pre-match here. But for T1, so much of this map was just these hard executes. It was super passive from FUT, always playing into these flood retakes. And I think it just worked so well with this Brim comp. It almost plays really similarly to the Icebox Brim comps that we used to see last year. And I think the player in particular that is finding strength in a lot of those situations has been Cracks. We had questions of how this KO would play against mid-rounding, but they never really had to do that. Instead, it felt like T1 was letting FUT play into the strengths of this comp, which was these flood retakes with the Brim smokes going up and the KO flashes to get out.
Yeah, T1 didn't try to bait really much of any utility in that half, and it's like you have the Sky, you have the Harbor to take all these things like slowly and try to bait out those Brim smokes, because he only has 3, right? And even the KO flashes, he only has 2 flashes and 1 knife, right? So it's like, I don't know why or what, but maybe they thought they had a hard read and, you know, they got countered a bit.
And now they have this massive advantage at the half. 9-3, they converted the bonus to begin. They've looked good on pistol rounds in the half. T1 is going to have to do something huge to rally here on the defensive side, but New Pearl is quite defense-sided.
Yeah, well, let's see if 9-3 is enough and send it back to the casters.
9 rounds so far, starting this out, as we've heard. FUT in prime position to close this out. T1's map pick, though, and now they're on the defense, a side where I think they'll be a little bit more comfortable. Saya's been looking good all the way through. There's certainly some signs of hope. The fact that so many of these rounds have come close as well. They're not down and out just yet, but they're certainly down for now.
I like that.
Starting out this pistol.
It's an insta KO nade just to try and clear that corner as they peek into mid, hoping to try and force someone out into the fight and almost bait their opponents into believing that that's the direction they've gone. In fact, instantly Carpe's going to have to use the Skydog, the Tiger, to clear out some position. The fact is, though, T1 have a great read here.
Yeah, Saya player's flank should be perfect, but it's going to take a while to come through. The players on site will have some trouble holding it down. One wall goes through. This is going to section them all around the backside. Low HP, though, on Munchkin. He doesn't really want to fight, but it'll be forced on him anyways. Good opening for Kiwi. Just look at Saya player. He snuck past the turret. He put his cloudburst up, and now they have no idea that he is sneaking his way through. That's an awkward fight. It's bought time, given an opportunity. Perhaps Kiwi can win that fight now if he wasn't crunched on, if there wasn't support here to play with. We're back down to a 2v3. Low HP on a lot of FUT players. The spike has to be defused, and time is on their side. They can swing out one at a time, or they can go all together. Double digits found for FUT.
Yeah, that might just be the nail in the coffin for map number 1. For so far ahead, and even this round where there was multiple players within the site, it just seems like they did a better job of being able to trade out those kills. Maj as well, just having an absolutely star-studded performance. I believe normally playing the Killjoy more so on this map, but his Vipers look damn good. Well, maybe just more so on the individual side of things rather than purely off the util. 10-3 up. Not going to be much of an investment at all. A Marshall thrown in, a chance for Saya to maybe do a little bit of damage. On the other side, it is just going to be this almost trap setup into B.
Now we'll see if the reward is there. A kill, just one to be found to start this off. The Marshall already going to be eliminated. That is very little fight in the side of T1 for this round. And at least Munchkin's able to grab another kill, make it more costly. But with 30 HP, his chances of doing that again are pretty low. And for the side of FUT, inching ever closer to victory on their opponent's map pick, you do have to wonder for Munchkin, maybe that Bulldog, it could even be worth bringing it through to the next round, but being so far behind, maybe they'll put stock in the 1v3.
Yeah, at this point, he's going to be able to buy a Vandal Phantom in the next round anyway, so might as well just throw this one in for some extra damage. Maybe try and get an AWP, but Kiwi is ready and waiting. 11-3. FUT taking this one further and further away from their opponents, and if there was going to be any fight back, Mitch, it kind of has to be now. And you know what? Good time for a pause.
Yeah, this is going to be another T1 timeout that's running dry on that side. Means they've got to make the comeback happen from this point forward pretty flawlessly without help from their coaching staff, unless FUT decide to have a word. It's going to be tough looking at this situation because it is definitely a series where 11-3 does not feel like a fair scoreline, not representing the level of fight that T1 brought to the table, but they just weren't able to close out those rounds, and that's what's going to leave you here.
It's an interesting one because by all expectations, this is going to be a rematch of the decider. Like, everybody sat there going, okay, EG are going to take this group, FPX are going to finish last in this group, and the other two teams are going to fight twice. Like, that's the way this kind of sits right now. So for FUT to be dominating this far ahead, it definitely makes things a little bit more interesting, seeing if they'll maybe come up against EG a little bit later on. But I think for both of these teams, coming into this tournament, a real opportunity to make it top 8 at Champions, I think that's something that they need to grasp with both hands. And for T1, wow. This being their map choice, this being somewhere they felt would be a home turf versus FUT, and being smashed in the way that they are, there needs to be a bit of a response here. And with the rifles on board, this is where you hope they'll step up.
Yeah, and as well, you know, recent memory for T1 on the international stage, certainly not great, although you can say that for a lot of these teams coming in, but a squad that beat EDG and then was eliminated by them shortly after.
Yeah.
Demolished, exactly. And so they're looking for their own little story this time around. The A site is under threat. FUT already having dashed in, taken space. There's some weaknesses here. 2 pistols in play.
Do they vibe this bit?
The rifle's taking the fight, and Munchkin, who's winning them. A quick double, and this could be the best chance for T1 so far. The only downside is that Viper's Pit.
Yeah, they've actually used it. Even in this scenario where they're down a couple of men, well, make that just one. Moj just managed to find another. The snakebite will buy some extra time, but he is not sitting still. He's gone moving all the way around. A decent position held, though, by Carpe. Just waiting on the other side, trying to find an entry back in, but Moj has found him as well. Having a lights-out game so far. Finally, Munchkin will respond, and now it's left all onto Mr. Farlin. Only a pistol in hand, but some low HP players, not this time, though. The time ticking relatively low, but they will be able to get themselves their 4th.
They will indeed. Another round on the board for T1, and at long last, this could be the start of their way back in. But, you know, the weaponry wasn't the best on the side of FUT. Sure, they use a Viper's Pit, but this time they'll come in with full rifles, and the real test is about to be there for T1 as well. This opening from Munchkin, you can't rely on that happening every single time, but it looked good.
I think the other thing as well is just you're seeing the sheer confidence that FUT have on the stage. Like, they have always been a team that once the momentum is rolling, they could beat anyone. Like literally anyone. They've taken maps off Fnatic over in EMEA when they played them in one of the earlier series. So the fact that they were in a 3v5 throwing in a Viper's Pit kind of proves to you that the confidence is overflowing at this stage. And now you kind of look at the buyback on the other side. Sure, you have that Blade Storm again. Carpe's weaponry a little bit lower. We'll see what FUT had to offer. A little bit of a slower default. A lurk held by Mr. Farlin, just watching for any space being taken by that defensive side. And it has been. Mid is where the pressure is currently being spotted for. And Mozetta is definitely going to see that smoke utilized and have a little bit of extra info for his team.
Killjoy utility pulled back. I thought maybe that'd be the window for side player to go on that flank he's been waiting for, but instead shifting back towards the B side. The orb was taken, and so Mr. Fallen had the lockdown to work with. It's on the floor to buy them space on B. Oh, space that will be undeniable as they waltz their way into this site. Choice of where to plant is very much theirs. They still haven't gone for the plant yet. I mean, there's a lot of time for this T1 squad to get back in here, go for spams, especially with such an open plant spot. It's worked out, but you're going to be caught by the flash on the way through. Players spotted moving towards the elbow. That's where T1 wanted to fight for a moment, but Zeta and Carp both down. Ban falls too. Blade Storm blinded in the open, and that is only going to leave Munchkin. Had some great rounds already, but not this time. It would be a miracle to pull out that 1v4. 12 on the board for FUT. And they now have 8 chances to close out their opponent's map pick. Haven up next. And, well, look, we got a lot of questions about Haven, actually. But Ascent as a closer, that's a Turkish map if ever I've seen one.
God. Well, the fact that FUT are happy to go back to Haven after losing it 3 times in a row says that what we're going to see in the next map, well, I'm hoping we won't see their Gecko. I'll be honest with you. I'm hoping that's gone. But the fact that this is as dominant as it is, I think, is more surprising to anyone. We've had some crazy games yesterday, incredibly close ones at that, but this has been anything but. 12-4, a build into this B site once again. The weaponry even worse than the last time out. Munchkin sat at the back of the site with a lockdown and a judge. The rest of the team nowhere to be seen. In fact, Sire's gone all the way up mid, but he's going to be no help in this round.
Now Walkabout going to take a while to come through. Player like Munchkin may be able to find value if someone from FUT overextends.
Oh,
what was that? A collateral? Oh, well, now that judge is certainly looking a little worse for wear towards this elbow. They're going in, though. They've given him the control, and the fight is his. The lockdown online. And he can defend this. Pushing back in's not a good idea. In fact, they won't get anywhere close to it. Kiwi caught in the open. And we're back down to not just the way back through for T1, but the man advantage to work with as well. It won't last too long without a captain. The trade out is good for Mr. Fallen, and he'll close it at that. FUT with 13-4. Their opening map in Los Angeles could not have gone much better. If this is a sign of what's to come, it's going to be a pretty quick series.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I came into this tournament looking at the first couple of days, looking at the matches that we had, and I thought, okay, this is going to be the most competitive of the lot. 2 teams that finished in a similar position in Tokyo, 2 teams that basically looked like they were at a similar level. And, well, FUT have come in and, let's just put it this way, one team was better from head to foot. They absolutely destroyed them in this map. Moj having an incredible map, and someone like Carpet,